Good afternoon and welcome to our celebration of service. I'm Ron Barnes and it's an honor to be your president. I have a thought for the day. If there is a single key issue to success, it is the trait of being able to make things happen in the world. Willfulness, determination, execution, focus, not giving up when you hit a roadblock, the ability to solve any problem that comes your way, and self-belief. Rotary is solving a lot of problems in this world. And again, it's always an honor to be a Rotarian to see the problems that we do solve. We have a reflection today from David Meyer. Dave?
Thank you, President Ron. Okay, I'd like to reflect on a national news story and its potential for local impact. As many of you probably know, the federal government recently announced its intention to reschedule marijuana or cannabis from the DEA Schedule 1 list to the Schedule 3 list. Schedule 1 drugs include heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and currently cannabis. Schedule 3 drugs have approved medical uses include Tylenol with codeine, ketamine, anabolic steroids, and testosterone. In Indiana, 85% of the public think that cannabis should be legal in some form. Nonetheless, 7,000 Hoosiers were arrested for simple possession in 2022. There are also big racial disparities in the administration of cannabis justice in Indiana. If you're Black, you are 3.5 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis possession in Indiana, according to the ACLU. Meanwhile, cannabis substitutes are legally sold across the state. These substitutes are primarily referred to as Delta-8 THC and produce a high similar to illegal cannabis, which contains primarily Delta-9 THC. Delta-8 is either synthetic or derived from the cannabis plant. Its risks to users are unknown because, in the words of the CDC, synthetic cannabis can cause dangerous and unpredictable health effects because of the unpredictable chemical contents, quote unquote. Essentially, the purchaser has no idea of what they're actually getting. Meanwhile, to the north, south, east, and west of us, we are flanked by legalization states. Turning to Michigan, it reaps a major tax windfall from their decision in 2018 to legalize cannabis. Last year, Michigan collected $290 million from their 10% excise tax on cannabis. They split the money collected between local governments, schools, and their transportation fund. Ann Arbor, Michigan alone last year received over $1.5 million from these tax receipts. Indiana now regulates alcohol, cigarettes, and gambling. I ask you, does it make sense to continue to wait for federal legalization of cannabis before our state decides when and how to tax and regulate it? Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Apparently, we don't have any guests in the house, but Kyla, do we have guests online?
I see all Rotarians here today.
Okay, thank you very much. We have some birthdays to celebrate. Bill Brown, May 25th. Christina Swanson, May 24th, and Elise Zolman, the 20th. So happy birthday to the three of you. And we have some Rotary anniversaries. Marcus Debro, 3 years, and Jeromo Rodich, 1 year. So congratulations to all of you. We have a hyper happy dollar event today. It was promised to you last week by Trent Decker, and Sarah, representing the foundation, is going to be here to conduct the hyper happy dollars. I want to start by putting $50 into the pot.
Thank you. And that will be added to Trent's 50 and my 50. Now, I asked Sally to come up and help me keep track. And Jim Capshew and Jeff Richardson, where are you, Jeff, are here to run around and catch your money. I'm not going to take it personally that there's a low attendance today. And I'm certain that all of those of you on Zoom will like to make a pledge or bring us a check next week or something, because it's really so hard to push cash through your computer. So here's what we'd like to do. If you just stand up and say how much you have to contribute and tell us whether it's cash or a check, or you want Natalie to add it to your bill. And Sally will attempt to write it down so we can keep it all straight and send you a thank you note. So let me just tell you, okay, we've got volunteers signing up already. Let me just take 1 minute to say this is to support our scholarship fund at the Bloomington Rotary Foundation. You heard last week that we're working on an endowment to endow the scholarships so that we can every year from now until the cows come home can continue to give scholarships to high school students and Ivy Tech students. We know those scholarships need to get bigger. We know we need to have more of them. It would be nice if they extended for a longer duration. We have a huge need for help for students going to college. But right now, let's just get started and fund this year's scholarships. So I saw Liz sticking her hand up.
20 in cash.
20 in cash. All right, Jim Bright. Oh, wait a minute. We'll go around the table. Yeah, sorry, Jim. Hold on.
Glenda
Hold
Murray,
that.
and I'll pledge 50, and Natalie can send me the bill.
Net 50 to be billed.
And Marilyn Wood will do the same, 50, and please bill.
Okay.
50, please, Bill.
We're short on cash. Jim Bright over here.
$20 cash.
Rex has 20. All right. Judy Schroeder going, oh,
20, Aaron, $20, 10 each from Martha and myself to be billed.
to be billed. Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
50 on my bill.
50 on Judy's bill.
I have 100 cash, but I have to say, my son got a job as head chef out at Camp Palo Wopec for 130 kids. So 100 bucks, 'cause
Woo!
I'm not going to be paying his bills next week.
Hyper happy. She is hyper happy.
I'll add 50 on my bill.
Add 50 to Winston's bill.
I'd like to contribute 50. I'm happy because my daughter's going to come home from Texas to visit soon.
Is that on your bill, Steve? On your bill? Okay.
50 on my bill.
50 on Bill Perkins's bill.
50 cash. I'm just happy.
Educationally happy.
$100 on my bill.
All right, Jim Harvey, $100 on his bill.
I have $20 cash, and I was accepted to IU Kelly School to pursue my master's in finance.
Woo! She'll be worth a lot more later.
100 by check, 3 graduates in the family this year.
All right. Thank you, Dick.
50 on my bill.
50 on Steve
50 for
Moberly's
Steve.
bill.
Thank you. 20 on my bill. You know, me and my wife have a nursing scholarship in my daughter's name. So education is very important. So 20.
Thank you, Jim. Charlotte's got her hand up and up at this front table.
100 on my bill.
Jeff Richardson.
$50 on my bill, $50 on Dave's bill.
$50 I check.
$50 for Bill.
That was Bill Oates.
Okay. $50 divided by 22 for 25 each for my granddaughters who graduated from college.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte. That was $50. Is that on your bill, Charlotte?
Yes.
On her bill.
Is anybody online?
Yes, I'd like $50 on my bill. Bill Murphy.
Okay, thank you, Bill. $50 on Bill Murphy's bill.
And we have several other donors who have chimed in the chat as well.
Oh, all right. Can you tell us who they are?
I can. I'm giving $50. Amy Osajima is as well as Elizabeth Thompson. And Sandy Keller has asked $20 on her bill.
I'm celebrating my daughters today. They're far afield. So I'm loving them from afar with $50.
Thank you, Ruth. All right. Is that it? Going once?
I'll do $50 on my bill.
Oh, there's Michael Shermis. He'll come through. He's got the mic. All right. Anybody else? Thank you all so much. This will more than match what we need to do the scholarships this year. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for your generosity. And we get to celebrate with our scholarship winners next week. So it'll be kind of neat to see these young people. Have many announcements. First of all, Tracy's working on committee signups, and I will put out a P-mail to all of you indicating who the chairs are. And I ask that you contact the chairs of each of these committee if you want to continue on the committee or you would like to sign up on the committee. Remember, Rotary service is mainly done through our committees. And it's important that you be a part of many. You don't have to sign up for just one, sign up for many. Alon asked me to mention to you that the Sibling City organization is going to have a celebration here in the Frangipani room on June 1st at 5:30. It's hosted by Rotary and it's free to attend, and dinner will be served, and they will not have marijuana, but they will have a cash bar. So, but it will start at it'll start at 5:30 and there'll be a program at 6:30. So wonderful event. And I encourage you to think about signing up and joining us. The other is that the Rotary Toast has selected a recipient for next November's Rotary Toast. It's Doug Bowder. And he's given 25 years of service as an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community at IU. He's worked hard to bring inclusiveness to our community. It'd be a nice way to honor him. So I encourage you to mark your calendar for November 1st. Information will be come out later on tickets and all of that, but it's a wonderful opportunity. We have a very good program today, and I ask that Michael Shermis come forward, who's been a wonderful program chair for us this year, and will continue with a wonderful program today. Michael.
22 years ago, I was the chair of the Hoosiers Outrun Cancer Race. And I'm going to do what I did when I spoke to an audience of a couple thousand people getting to run that 5K race. So raise your hand if you or someone in your family has had cancer, and keep your hands up. And now, if you know someone who has had cancer, an acquaintance, friend of a friend, whatever, raise your hand. You can look around and see everybody's hand is up. You can put them down now. You know, cancer is pervasive in our society, but I'm just not sure we know that there are amazing resources to help us deal with it. And I think we're going to learn something, some very helpful information about what is available to us in our community today. Stephanie Shelton has lived in Bloomington since 2011. She's worked at business development and fundraising with over 10 years experience at Smithfield Communications and Life Designs. Prior to that, she got a degree from St. Mary of the Woods College in Terre Haute. She met her husband while in college and bought their first house together in Bloomington, thinking it would be a wonderful community to raise children in, and have been here ever since. She likes recreational sports, painting, drawing, arts, crafts, and planning activities with her kids. Give a warm Rotary welcome to a delightful, warm, and empathetic person. Excellent qualities for the job that she has, to Stephanie Shelton.
Hello. Thank you guys for inviting me today. I am really honored to be here and talk to you. And I know this is a tough topic for a lot of people. So what I want to do is let you know that I'm working for a wonderful organization, Cancer Support Community, that's just recently opened up an office in Bloomington. We had our ribbon cutting with the chamber in March of 22. So just starting our third year here. This clicker out. So Cancer Support Community is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. And what we do is provide supports to people as they're going through cancer and beyond into survivorship. We also provide supports to family members, friends, caregivers. Everyone who raised their hand because they've been impacted by cancer would be welcome to come to any of our programs. We'll talk a little bit more about the programs as we go along. But first, I want to give you an idea of the vastness of Cancer Support Community. So Cancer Support Community was actually started as the Wellness Center and Gilda's Club in about 1981 when they merged those two organizations together. So we have a nationwide affiliate of Cancer Support Communities and Gilda's Clubs across the country. There's over 100 offices. I feel Bloomington is incredibly lucky to have a cancer support community here in our town. Most of the cancer support communities and Gilda's Clubs across the country are in much larger cities, Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati. So I think the size of Bloomington, like, we're just incredibly lucky to have something like this here. We provide free cancer support programs and resources. The programs being things like counseling, support groups, exercise, nutrition classes, cancer education, social connections, bringing families and survivors together so they can network and heal with each other. Our goal is to be with the whole family the whole time, with, through, and beyond cancer. So this is a map of Indiana. The office in Bloomington was opened as a satellite of CSC Indiana. So the office in Bloomington is called Cancer Support Community South Central Indiana, indicating that our office serves the South Central region of Indiana. I'm going to walk over here and point so you guys can see this. But basically this kind of dotted area here at the bottom is where Cancer Support Community South Central Indiana covers. Right now, we do only have the one physical location in Bloomington, Indiana, but we are traveling to Morgan County and Lawrence County outside of Monroe to do, we have an in-person support group in Lawrence County at the Bedford Hospital, and we deliver comfort kits to both Morgan and Lawrence County infusion centers. Now, this darker line up here around the center of Indiana, those are the counties that CSC Indiana covers, and that office is located on the northwest side of Indianapolis. So up here, the 11 county region served by IU Health South Central region, that is our goal. So as we grow, we are just still a new organization, but as we grow, we want to have a presence in all of those 11 counties of the South Central region. We also offer virtual programming. So for anyone in the state or even anyone in the country, we have Zoom or hybrid programming for support groups, exercise classes like yoga, all different kinds of things. So a lot of our educational presentations by doctors are presented as a hybrid or a virtual nature. So many of our programs can be accessed even outside of these counties. Our office is located at the corner of West 3rd Street and Landmark Avenue here in Bloomington. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to stop by. We love to give tours. It really kind of hits you when you get to see it, all that's there. But I hope that I can give you a sneak peek into that today. And then food and transportation assistance. So I want to point out that we do a program called Patient Assistance Fund for patients who are in active treatment cycles. We work to secure grants and funds so that we can provide those cancer patients in a moment of need some assistance with food and transportation. We provide grocery gift cards from places like Kroger and gas gift cards from local gas stations, and we'll mail those out. So someone needs to meet income requirements to qualify for that program, which oftentimes I'm sure you can all imagine, when you are going through cancer treatments, that takes up a lot of your time. So many people have to stop working for that time period. We do allow people we examine those situations that people are in, not what they made last year, but what is their need right now in order to make those awards. Once they're approved, we will just mail the gift cards out to them, and that can help them in that period, which sometimes can be incredibly helpful. For radiation, you might have 2 weeks of radiation daily and possibly be driving 60 miles one way to appointments. So even what we normally do is $150 total, and it's their choice. They can choose whether they want that whole 150 on food or transportation or split between the two. Last year in I think I need to update that number. It should say 2023, sorry, not 2022. In 2023, we served 700, out of the Bloomington office, we served 711 unique individuals who received support from us 2,999 times. So usually that's visits. That does include things like providing the food and transportation assistance and things like that. Funding and operations. I think it's really important to understand kind of how we operate as an organization. So we are a 501c3, as I mentioned. So all of our funds, because all of our programming is provided for free with no cost to cancer patients or their families. All of our funds come from fundraising activities, grants, the event that Michael mentioned, Hoosiers Outrun Cancer. That is a big part of our funding. I also wanted to point out that we have now 4 full-time staff in Bloomington. When we first came to Bloomington and opened the office in 2022, we had 2 employees. So we've doubled our size just in 2 years, basically. Our annual budget is approximately $600,000. Hoosiers Outrun Cancer is just a little over 50% of that amount. So it's really a big deal to us. We'll talk a little bit more about that event later in the presentation. Bloomington Health Foundation provided CSC Indiana with a $2.4 million startup grant that covers 5 years. So we're in about year 3 of that grant right now. By the time we get to the end of that 5 years, we need to be able to fully fund ourselves on our own without that funding. But what that did is it allowed us to build a fundraising program. Part of that that grant agreement included the event Hoosiers Outrun Cancer. So that was a big piece of our sustainability when we were making plans to come to Bloomington. Grants, we've been very successful. I have worked so hard with the collaboration of our program staff to seek out funding from local foundations. We received funding from the Community Foundation, from the Jack Hopkins Social Services Fund, Sophia Travis here locally, Smithville Foundation, Duke Energy Foundation, and a couple of others. So we're continuing to look at expanding those relationships as well. Individual and corporate donors. Outside of Hoosiers Outrun Cancer, we have just a regular donation button on our website. We also can accept planned gifts, stocks, and different types of gifts as well, and fundraising events. Hoosiers Outrun Cancer is our biggest fundraising event, but I've worked to develop a few others. We have a trivia series in partnership with Cardinal Spirits. So about 6 times a year, we'll host an event there. That's a lot about outreach and fundraising. There are sponsorship opportunities, and it's just a fun time to bring a group of friends and test your knowledge for the night. We also have a partnership with Bloomington Watercolor Society. We've opened up our office space at the West 3rd Street location to host a gallery. So we've got some gallery hanging equipment on our walls, and every other month we switch out to a new artist. So about every other month we have an opening reception to feature that artist and their work. It's always a local artist and someone who's a part of the Bloomington Watercolor Society. What is survivorship programming? So now we're going to start getting into the things that we do. Wellness. We consider wellness being things like the exercise and nutrition classes. It can also be other things like we had a skincare class, education. These are presentations typically where we invite a healthcare professional, usually a doctor, to come in and speak on a cancer-related topic. Social connections. These are fun activities or classes that we plan. A lot of times it looks like arts or crafts, music, just something fun to bring people together. And those relationships that people make at those classes are the really, really important part of that. Support. This is psychosocial support. So think mental health. We do a lot of counseling, one-on-one, and support groups. We also have things like massage therapy, art therapy, music therapy, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Information assistance and referrals. So anything that we can't provide to someone, because we can't do everything, right? We try to keep a sort of a database or a library of resources. So we have connections with other nonprofits locally. We have connections with nationwide resources. And we keep this information so that if someone calls and needs something, our staff are trained and they know where to find help for that person if we can't provide it to them. Additionally, this includes financial assistance, things like the Patient Assistance Fund, where we provide food and transportation. We have a wig boutique, and we'll get into those other supports a little bit more later. So, support services, one-on-one counseling. CSC has 2 social workers. Their licensure is a little bit different. I think one is an LCSW and the other is one step below that. And I can't remember the specific licensing on that. But the one-on-one counseling is available. We offer typically 6 free sessions. It's meant to be temporary. So if the 6 free sessions aren't enough for someone, we will help them get a referral into a more permanent program. Oftentimes, though, the 6 sessions is all someone needs. Diagnosis-specific support groups. So we did an annual survey last year, and we learned that our participants, people wanted more diagnosis-specific support groups. In the beginning, we started out with just 2 support groups, one for all types of cancer patients, and the other one for friends and family members. And those are held usually at the same time at our location so that a spouse pair could come together, go each to the appropriate support group, and then leave after they're all done. Family and friends support group that I just mentioned, the grief and loss counseling group, that is a new one that we started. That was another request on our survey. So I think this indicates and just shows our willingness to adapt and offer flexible programming. So our goal really is to meet the needs of our specific communities. So if you know of something that's needed, come to us. We want to hear about it, and we will work to see what we can do to make it happen. Also under support services, we have oncology massage. We are so excited about this. Just this year, we were able to start new massage program. It has been so popular. We had about a month-long wait list within weeks after we opened the program. This is one program that's been requested more than any other program that we offer. It took us a little while to get a grant specifically to fund this. And we're looking to continue that program. So that grant is going to run out at some point. We need to work on how we can continue the program. Because oncology massage is very specific. It's a specific certification that a massage therapist can get. We were very lucky to find a massage therapist here in Bloomington that was able to do that. We also offer Reiki. Reiki is a light touch massage. Our Reiki practitioner, Becky, has been working with the Alcott Center for many years and started working with us as we transitioned from the Alcott Center moving to IU Health and the new hospital and focusing more on their nurse navigation primary mission. Art and music therapy. It's pretty much just what it sounds like, but it's a really great program. I will say the art and music therapy is sort of mobile. So we will take that to infusion centers and inpatient beds to serve people where they are. Wellness, food, nutrition, and exercise are the main things. A lot of times when someone is diagnosed with cancer, going into survivorship, their eating habits might change because of taste or different effects of the chemo or the different medications that you can take. Nutrition for Wellness is a live cooking demonstration. This class was one of the first things that we opened when we started up here in Bloomington. We partner with local chefs from places like Upland, IU Athletics Dining Services. The Truffles chef did an appointment. We also partner with Ivy Tech Culinary Program. This has just been a really successful program and one that's very popular. Once a month, we hold this live cooking demonstration and everyone gets to try the meal that was just prepared there. The participants, I think, most enjoy being able to ask the chefs questions as they go along with the demonstration. Exercise classes, we started out with just yoga, but within the past year, we've added Tai Chi, seated Qigong, and 2 additional yoga classes. So we now have 3 yoga classes. We also have access. This is one of the things that is available through our nationwide affiliate of programs, the INA, the Virtual Nutrition app. This is a really cool resource that's available for someone to actually be able to chat or ask questions to a nutritionist. Education. Education programs, as I mentioned, are programs intended to provide professional education on cancer-related topics. Just a couple of examples of those types of presentations. We did a program on neuropathy with an IU Health doctor that came in and talked about pain management, for example. Frankly speaking about cancer, this is one of those nationwide programs. So this program is built and available at every CSC and Gildas Club across the country. Moving Beyond is a survivorship program. So once you've gotten through your treatments and you've got that clean bill of health, moving on kind of helps you figure out what to do next. Social connections. We talked a little bit about this already. So what I really want to focus on is our efforts during the past 6 months. We've really focused on building our family-friendly programs. So we've added a holiday party, family night, Healing Moments, which is a professional photography session for cancer patients and their families. That's a really wonderful way for survivors to document their survivorship, their experiences with their family as they go along. Arts and crafts classes, we added a book club this year. This was a sort of a pet project from our grad student social work intern, and she did an amazing job. And Survivor Celebration Day. Survivor Celebration Day is a partnership with Indiana University and CSC just to celebrate survivorship. So we've hosted that at Indiana University the past couple years. It's a big party and food, ice cream, Jiffy Treat's been there. We've often had the IU cheerleaders there and just a real celebratory thing. Information assistance and referrals. So the things I want to highlight here are things that we do that are resource oriented. So the wig boutique. We have a wig boutique in our office and we are able to offer a free wig kit, and which includes supplies to go along and take care of that wig. This wig kit, one wig kit costs us $100, but we're able to give that for free. You might be thinking, how on earth are you able to get a whole kit, including a wig, for $100? We have a program with a wholesale vendor where we're able to order wigs at wholesale costs instead of retail costs. We also get many wigs donated back. When someone finishes up with their wig, if it's in good condition, we can take those back and keep them in our inventory in our boutique. The boutique also has things like hats, scarves, skincare items, lotions, socks, other items to be available as we receive them as in-kind donations. Financial assistance was that food and transportation program that I mentioned. Comfort kits. This is a sort of a gift basket that we take to cancer patients in chemotherapy infusion. So once a month, we go to Bedford Hospital, Martinsville Hospital, and Bloomington Hospital infusion centers, and we deliver comfort kits to any cancer patients that happen to be there at that time. Now, this serves 2 purposes. One, it's just a free gift, including supplies, essential items, things that they might need, fun activity books, things to take your mind off sitting there for an hour doing the infusions, but also resources. So we put our program calendars in here so people can learn about all of these things that we talked about today and have an opportunity to take advantage of those. Chemo kits. We were just asked this year by IU Health to start offering chemo kits. IU Health had a program that was providing a sort of a completion kit to chemo patients, and that the funding for that has run out. So we haven't yet figured out how to do this, but that's one thing that we're looking to add is a celebratory completion kit for chemo patients as they finish their chemotherapy. Savvy bras. These are special bras that allow for a radiation device implant. when you are getting radiation therapy with breast cancer. These are not super expensive. They might be something like a soft Hanes sports bra kind of looking thing. But even when you're going through all of that, even buying like 4 or 5 of those, you can't really wash them. So buying 4 or 5 of those at $15, $20 a piece can still add up. So we offer the Savvy bras for people who need assistance with purchasing those during that time. Just this past year, we added calendula cream and water bottles for radiation patients. So we take these to the radiation centers in Bloomington and Bedford. And these are, the calendula cream is very, I'm going to say unscented, very gentle lotion that helps with the burns from radiation. So that's something that is really beneficial to radiation patients. And the water bottles were for a program where they, when you have a cancer that's in the pelvic region, it's very important that your bladder is full when you go into that radiation therapy to keep your organs safe. So they had a lot of patients who would come in and because of the waiting time or whatever, they might need to get drinks of water. So those water bottles are reusable and they're intended to help the patients get where they need to be before they go into their treatment. Involvement. Attend events, refer individuals and families, volunteer, sponsor an event, donate. I'm sure you guys can all imagine these types of things. We have lots of volunteer opportunities with some of our programs. For example, there's someone who does the grief counseling. A couple of our support groups are facilitated by a volunteer. We have volunteers that do arts and crafts programming sometimes. We used to have a walking club when it was popular. And we had a volunteer that kind of coordinated that group effort to do the walking club. So we're open to ideas. If you have a specific skill that you think would be beneficial, we'd like to talk to you. Also volunteering for Hoosiers Outrun Cancer. That's the other big area that we need volunteers for. Referring individuals and families. So this is probably the #1 most important thing I can ask from you today. And this is easy. Anyone can do it. You all raised your hands and said that you knew someone who had gone through cancer. So just let people know that we're here. This office is still new enough that a lot of people aren't even aware that we're here in Bloomington. So talk about these programs to other people, encourage them to come. It can sometimes be intimidating and hard to take that first step through our doors, but I promise you not one person has stepped through our doors and regretted it. So just encourage people to just come for a visit, and I think they'll find what they're looking for. Our website and email address and my email address and our office phone number are listed here. If you guys need that later, I do have some what we call rack cards, which are just little cards with information about our organization up there on the table before you leave. I also brought a few of our program calendars. Our program calendars, we don't get a ton of printed copies, but we also keep them on our website. So you can refer anyone to our website to go to programs and then program calendars, and you can download the PDF of everything we have going on during a 2-month time period. We publish a new program calendar every other month. And before I get into the questions, I just wanted to mention Hoosiers Outrun Cancer. This year is October 5th, and we're very excited. This will be the 25th anniversary. So thinking back to Bloomington Health Foundation and many years ago when Michael was the chair, it's just incredible that this event is still going on. I mentioned that $2.4 million grant. That was a result of the funds raised from this event over a 20-year time period. So this is just an incredible celebration event for the community. Many families come out as a team to honor a loved one who they've lost or who is still with them, fighting cancer, facing cancer. Many corporations, companies have teams. I'm happy to work with anyone who has a company that would like to get a team started this year. Okay, gotta check my time here. We are at about 15 minutes left, so I would like to open the floor up now for anyone who has questions.
First of all, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. I'm very interested in it. And this is a friendly question, but it's a tough one. I don't mind telling this group that I'm a prostate cancer survivor. And some years ago, I was asked to start and help others start a prostate cancer support group, which we did quite successfully until the urology service in this county split up aside, and then we had the support of neither one. And I've learned over the years that these groups are very hard to sustain. Even I've learned that women with breast cancer support groups like that don't last very long, or they become very sort of inclusive of the people that have always gone. My question is to you, why is it so hard to sustain support groups for people with cancer like prostate cancer? And that for men, of course, and women as well, if they want to attend.
Well, I will say first and foremost, like that was one of the specific requests that we got on our annual survey last year was, can we get more diagnosis-specific support groups? So we did start a prostate group this past year. It hasn't been going really long, but we've had a lot of success with it. I think our organization creates the kind of community that makes that sustaining a group like that a little bit easier. Because we offer so much different programming, I think people are starting to see the value of coming back. Why might it be difficult to sustain something like that? I think the number one thing is just having someone to do it. So that's what our fundraising is all about, is first and foremost, having a facilitator, if not a volunteer, a paid facilitator with a mental health background, like something like social work or counseling, something like that. So we are always going to provide that for that group. So that's one piece of sustainability right there. Another thing I think I mentioned, it can be quite a big commitment, I think, to come to a support group for the first time. So someone might not know if they really want to go. They might be afraid to share their story. They might be afraid of what that might bring up for them. I can't speak to everything that might be difficult for sustaining a group like that, but I think that that's part of it, is just that commitment to going. I think also people's schedules change. Once you are through cancer and you're into survivorship, you know, you're back to work, you get busy. Everyone here has busy lives, I'm sure. Friends, family, work, community, service, volunteering. So those are just my reflections, but I don't know that I can give you a more specific answer than that.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that presentation. It was very insightful. And I support, what's your name again? Tim. I also am a survivor of an early stage cancer that was diagnosed, I don't know, like a decade or more ago. Wow. And I think, and I have a background in medicine, and I think it's very different, the perspectives that you have about these conditions when you move from being like, you know, like a physician and seeing patients, and when you actually have to live these experiences, right? So that inspires the questions that I'm gonna do to you today. The first question is about, how do you prioritize, or how does this organization prioritizes the patients that are going to benefit from the services, understanding that resources are limited, right? And you might have, I don't know, lots of people who need the services, but at some point you're going to need to prioritize who will get those services first. That's my first question. And the second question is about being in Indiana, right? Where we have so many rural communities that are usually left behind when it comes to access to services. What are some of the strategies that this organization has in place to ensure that the people living in rural communities are also accessing these services? Thank you.
Very good questions, both of them. The first question being how to prioritize when there's not enough funding for everything that we want to do. We haven't quite gotten there yet in South Central Indiana. We've been fortunate to have the support of the grant, and that's allowed us to not only like fund what we're doing now, but start saving for the future. One other thing that recently happened is we were just awarded a matching grant to start an endowment with the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County. So that's one piece of sustainability in general that we're hopeful will grow to be just a really good resource for us in the future. That's a tough decision. How do you decide who you're going to help and who you can't? We open our doors to everyone. So some things don't have such a limit, like support groups, being able to offer virtual programming, but the resources, the patient assistance with food and transportation, Those are on a first come, first serve basis for those that meet the qualifications. So that's first, is checking to see, do they meet the income requirements for this program? If they do, then we will provide the assistance just as long as we have the money to do so. At some point, we may need to stop that program. Another example might be the massages. So we started off offering 6 free oncology massages to everyone, all cancer patients who needed them, but our wait list backed up so quickly. In order to serve more people, we reduced the number of massages each person received for free. First, we went down to 3, and then we went down to 2. I hate saying that, but it's the funds that we have. So our decision there was to try to help more people and just provide less support to each person to be able to accomplish our goals, at least during this time period. The second question, rural communities. Again, we are so new. So it is our goal and part of our strategic plan to start reaching out into more and more rural communities. We were requested by Bedford Hospital to host an in-person support group, which I got to tell you, it can be hard getting support groups started, just as we just talked about. But the very first meeting we showed up to Bedford Hospital, we had like 13 people show up in person, and that was just from Bedford Hospital posting flyers up around. So that was something that they very much needed. We are willing to start doing things like that as we have the staff. But I think the real question is, how are we going to do that with the financial support? So if you look at our Indianapolis office, they have a longer history. They've been around since, I think, 1995. So they've developed some contracts with different hospital or medical-based facilities. And those contracts are kind of work like a grant. They're providing the funds for us to come and provide services to them in their space. Those could be things like the comfort kits or art therapy or individual counseling or support groups. So I think as we expand, we're going to look to add contracts like that for South Central Indiana as well. And hopefully that'll get us where we need to go.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned income requirements or income guidelines, I guess is a better term.
Yeah.
And I know some programs will require that. I mean, it has to be sustainable. But there's many others that may not be income based. I've been through that with a family member, and between my wife and I, we were pretty fortunate, and we had insurance and stable income and all those things. But I met so many people who did not, didn't have insurance, didn't have high enough incomes. But things like the social part, the chats, are the type of things that are not really income based, but that could still help people?
Yeah.
Is that a good question? I'm sorry.
I think I get what you're saying. And let me just, so really the income requirements are only for that direct financial assistance program. So the one where we mail food and transportation gift cards out, we are held accountable for how we use those funds by our grants and things that fund those. So that is the only program that has any sort of income requirements. The rest of the programs, the massages, as I mentioned, for example, being able to offer massages just for cancer patients. Those are for any cancer patient, regardless of income, but they are limited to patients, not not family members and caretakers. So that's pretty much the extent of our limitations. We, in general, want to be super easily accessible by everyone who needs the support. So it's pretty low barrier.
Yep. Thank you for the extensive and wonderful programming you've described. My question is, we've got a lot of agencies and groups in this community. We're very fortunate. And my question is, how can we consolidate some of these so that each one does not have to go for resources and can work with other organizations in solidarity?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure that I can best answer that, but I think some of the things that we have been doing, like where the city and the community foundation and maybe the county, the public library, they'll gather resources together for a mental health coalition, for instance, or a focus on housing. I think lots of those types of things are a really good way to start something like that. Cancer Support Community is also a member of the United Way, a partnership organization I'm always a supporter of the United Way for that reason. I think they bring organizations together to help us work together better. The missions are just so specific in different organizations. I think we'll find some common ground, but I don't know that we'll ever like totally get rid of certain organizations or merge them together because of those specific focuses. So I don't really know. Is that a good enough answer? No, I'm sorry.
You got time for one more question?
I want to follow up on Charlotte's question. Would you explain a little more your relationship to the Alcott Center, with which most of us are familiar?
Yeah, so the Alcott Center is actually a part of or a department of IU Health. The Alcott Center started out as its own building, which is what most people are familiar with. When IU Health built the new South Central Regional Academic Center, Alcott Center, they don't have a physical space anymore. They're the nurse navigation team. So they still exist within IU Health Hospital, Bloomington Hospital. But their primary mission has always been nurse navigation. So when CSC came to Bloomington, one of our requirements was IU Health has to partner with us or we're not coming. We wanted to make sure that we were welcome in the community and that we were going to have IU Health's full support. So we still work very closely with IU Health as a whole. And then also specifically with the Alcott Nurse Navigation team. Many of their nurse navigators have all of our programming and information, so they'll send referrals to us. But what we try to do is not do the same thing as what they're doing, but do supporting things so that they can focus on their primary mission and what they're really good at, which is navigating the healthcare system. And they do have other resources as well, but and then we can take over some of these other things as we have just the history, the national affiliate of programs and resources. We have training programs every year. So we're really good at this space. So we try to stay in the psychosocial, mental health and general wellness.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And by the way, we will be making a donation to Hoosier Hills Food Bank for your presentation today. And I'd like to also add, we will add your agency to the list. We have a drawing every quarter to a local agency that we make a donation for our speakers. And we'll add your organization to our list of organizations in the community. Some acknowledgements, our greeter, Steve Wicks. He had a slight job of not having to introduce anybody, so I won't even recognize him for that. Kyla Cox-Ecker as our Zoom host, obviously doing a nice job filling in for Joy. Dave Meyer for his reflection. Bob Zaltzberg as our reporter, again, very tough job. We appreciate that. Michael Shermas for being the mic and camera operator, and obviously Tyler Martin Nichols for producing this program for us. We will honor next week in the Frangipani room our scholarship winners. It's always a fun event. So please be here to help us celebrate. Now, if you'll stand and join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and believe. First, is it the truth? Second, third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? Have a good week.